Nottingham Forest, you were hired, I want to get the exact word, as a referee analyst, I believe.
That wasn't true.
Okay.
I wasn't employed as a referee analyst. That was Sky Sports reporting it. It was,
So what was your role there?
So I was an advisor to the board. So I was advising in different areas. It wasn't just refereeing, it was different other aspects. Because I've been involved in football quite a long time, I've seen a lot of things. I've understand the English culture. The owner of Nottingham Forest is Greek. A lot of the people around him are Greek. So therefore I can sometimes give him the English understanding of what's expected. So he trusts me. I've had a relationship with him because I was the head of refereeing in Greece. We had a mutual respect for each other. I left Greece and he still had that mutual respect. And he asked us to certainly help him understand some of the refereeing decisions that Nottingham Forest have received this year, which I couldn't give him any explanation for it because a lot of the decisions were, wrong. They were affecting the club. They were affecting the points. And certainly when a club is fighting for relegation and when you're a referee, you don't really understand the pressure. But when you're involved in a club, you realise the pressure of staying in the Premier League is so big. Yeah. Every decision's scrutinised, and it got to a point where there was games after games, another mistake, the Pigeon would accept that mistake. And then the one that caused most of the controversy was the Everton match where, in my opinion, there's at least, from my experience as a top referee, was at least 2 penalties should have been given, even if the handball is questionable, and we can discuss if the handball is making his body bigger because of all these criteria. The third one is the one that if you haven't give 2 that are questionable, the third one is the one that has to be given and should have been given, and it wasn't. And that was a critical part of the game, and it was an important match for both clubs. Everybody seemed to... There was such a media scrutiny around the appointment, and nobody seemed to want the appointment. I think there was such a hatred towards it. I was getting threats. Social media was so bad.
Threats by people on social media.
Yeah, and because some comments from certain individuals, and it was completely directed. It was bullying. One pundit asked for us to be removed from my job. My daughter's panicking when I go home because she's crying, thinking, if I lose my job, can she still go to school? Can she still do the normal things? So it does affect you that people can say such hurtful things when all I'm trying to do is a job for a football club. I haven't been a referee for 7 years. So because I was a referee, does that mean I always have to stay in the referee club?
Do you think Nottingham Forest and the owner thought that hiring you would put pressure on referees to perhaps change their decision making or make sure they don't give a controversial decision against Nottingham Forest? Do you think that was part of the motivation?
Absolutely not. And I think every club in the Premier League has an ex-referee who looks after the referees. I wasn't doing that.
Okay.
I never spoke to the referees.
Right.
I've never spoke to them for 7 years. So how can or for him to think that I can be employed to influence the referees? I was advising himself and the club, if they had a grievance, for the coaching staff to have the right information. For example, the bounce ball at Liverpool. They didn't know the law, or they knew the law, but I could give them the exact and could advise the club on what's the best course of action when they do go to see the referee at the end of the game, because what you don't want is the coach and staff to go in and don't know the law. So there is certain points. That's what I was employed to do. Never to influence the referees. I never went to speak to a referee. I never spoke to him afterwards. I never even wanted to do that. All I wanted was to support Nottingham Forest in anything that the owner and the board wanted me to support them on. And I didn't really, all I wanted was, the referee to do a good job, because I was an was an ex-referee myself, and you know, there was a target attack, certainly from a TV company. That was clear. There was target attacks from some other organisations, and when that target attack happens, it's impossible to survive because the media scrutiny.
You mentioned company and a pundit being very critical. You may or may not have been referring to Gary Neville, because
I wouldn't like to say who it. For me, I don't like to say individuals. I think people can make that.
Fair enough. I certainly saw Gary Neville be very, very critical of the role, amongst others. It's interesting that you said around how much that affected you. Before you accepted the role, did you expect anything along those lines to come from it?
No.
You didn't think you'd get that criticism?
No, far from it. I was a referee that had refereed in the Premier League, Saudi Arabia, China, managed the referees in Greece. I'd advised the board in Greece, the league, about professional refereeing, and I was offered a role, and I wanted to be a part of a football club. I think it's exciting. I think there is a role in the club. I was looking forward to the role, but I realised very quickly, because of the negativity that was being created, that it was going to be a difficult situation, and it was right for me to part company with the club, because I didn't want to affect their future matches, especially when they were going into some critical matches. And I think every person in England saw the Everton Nottingham Forest game and can make their own judgments, because there was such a backlash. And, it was better for me not to be the main focus, because everybody believed, I made the tweet. I didn't. That was nothing to do with me. That was the club.
Okay.
I just advised on the refereeing decisions. I believe that there was 2 penalties, not 3. But 3 could have been given. I could understand if the first one was given, but the other 2 were clear for me. And that's what I advised, and that's what my job was. That's not influence refereeing. That's trying to support the club in trying to win football matches.
I'm just going to pause for a second, because I'm very proud to announce that this show has its first sponsor, and it's a good one. It's NordVPN. As the owner of a marketing agency that operates online, it's really important for me and my team to stay protected with whatever we're doing online. And that's why NordVPN is essential to the operation of my business. Now, if you're a massive football fan like me, you can't watch every game because of the ridiculous 3 p.m. blackout, but you can if you use NordVPN. You can change your virtual location to another country where that game is actually being played. You can also watch games when you're abroad. NordVPN is also the fastest VPN, so no buffering, lagging, slowing your internet down. To get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/Ben Heath. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on a 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the description below. Go ahead and check it out. I imagine that the media backlash that you received and that Nottingham Forest received was made worse by tweets, statements released. You said that wasn't anything to do with you. Did you try and stop those public statements?
This is something between the club. I'm just an advisor.
Okay. So you haven't been consulted on those.
I'm down the chain of authority. So right. I can support in some things, but I certainly can't. If the club want to make a statement, because that statement was made, and even if we agree or we don't agree with the statement, it was a build-up of refereeing incidents. Then the situation at Everton, it seemed to be a lot of things, and it was earlier in the season, things, Bournemouth, Willy Bolly's red second yellow card, which was wrong. There's lots of other incidents which, yes, clubs get wrong decisions, but when you're in a good position in the league, they have less impact. Okay. But they seem to be when you're in the relegation zone or you're fighting for the relegation, it seemed to have a material impact. And that statement was back of a lot of bad decisions that had happened during the season for Nottingham Forest.
Do you think there was anything behind those bad decisions? Was there any sense from other referees that they were perhaps annoyed at your involvement and your role? Or do you think it was just coincidence that you got?
I would hope it's coincidence.
Okay.
as a ex-referee, I would hope it's coincidence, because referees should go in with a clear mind and clear focus that they don't want to make a mistake. And I think as a referee, I didn't want to make a mistake, and I don't believe that they do go to make mistakes. I think, yes, they make mistakes. Some mistakes are probably built up because of the VAR and the inconsistency with the VAR and the high level of intervention. I think every referee wants to get the decisions right, like I was. So I would hope that the referees thought like that. And I hope that my involvement, the short period I had in involvement, actually helped both parties. I helped the PGM well, and also I helped Nottingham Forest in trying to build up relationship which other clubs had, because of foreign owners. It becomes difficult to build them relationships, and that's the most important, to build up them relationships.
How did you feel when that statement did go out, questioning the integrity, or it seemed like it questioned the integrity of Stuart Atwell in this instance?
I think there was a lot of, to give background to that. I think it was widely publicised that there was a lot of, not unhappiness, there was a lot of uneasiness about the appointment, because on the Friday it was heavily publicised by media that Stuart Atwell was potentially a Luton Town fan.
Yeah.
And we always had this, certainly, it was always, when I was a referee, we wouldn't be involved certainly in a Sunderland match.
Yeah.
But we certainly wouldn't be involved in a club that were in and around, for example, Champions League.
Okay.
If Newcastle were in the relegation, which never happened, no, it did. But if Newcastle, for example, were down in the relegation, we wouldn't be involved in the clubs,
okay,
unless they were relegated, because it would just create
a story.
Pressure. And a pressure that you don't need as a referee. Yeah. And all referees every year, they have to submit their who they support. If, for example, their wife, a child, a season ticket holder. For example, I had to declare that my brother was a season ticket holder at Sunderland, and I had another brother that was a season ticket holder at Newcastle. So that was my declaration.
Yeah.
I also declared that I was a Newcastle fan. And therefore, the PGM well would always look, and they're duty bound to protect their employee. I just believe that it was an oversight that, that the management team at PGM well had made that appointment. That was from my past experiences. As a fellow referee, I'm there to think, I'm not sure I would want to be put in that position, because you just know that there could be, you're in a no-win situation, because if the game goes well, you look at the social media and Luton Town fans will destroy him. If he does badly, then Nottingham Forest or Everton, whoever had lost, would have given the same treatment, and there was plenty of other VARs that could have supported that match and did a job that would have caused less. Even if the decisions were made, I think because they had this, and the media were, what the media do to the club and, to the people around the club, to put pressure, it's not nice for Stuart, certainly not, and it shouldn't have happened, but it could have been avoided. It would have been better if Stuart Atwell wasn't on the game, because it just put pressure on him,
Did that impact your decision to resign?
No, I just think it was a decision that was best for the football club, and it was a decision after discussing with the board that, for me, it was the right decision. I didn't want to be involved in something that had a negative impact. Refereeing decisions, it didn't matter that I was in the club, because everybody thought I was the referee analyst, even though I wasn't. It felt that the decisions weren't getting any better, and I felt that myself after the Everton game. It didn't feel that I was adding any value on that side of it, and that was my main love, refereeing. And I felt that for the club to move forward, my decision not to be there was the best decision, and it was the best decision because they won the last 2 out of 3.
That must feel quite frustrating. From what you've described, it almost sounds like the media chased you out of the role.
That's what it looks like. That's what it sometimes feels like. I felt when podcasts were being produced and they're making a joke of it. It was some targeted things where I was sitting, because I'm analysing the game like everybody else, and it was talked about. They were told that I wasn't referee analyst, and they keep using the word referee analyst. So they were directing the media, the public, into thinking one thing, and I think it was difficult. But it'll be interesting to see if another referee who hasn't got the same profile as myself could do the role. It just felt, because we have, like I've said, there's ex-referees look after referees before the game and after the game, to bring in the food, to bring in anything they want, the juices. So there is ex-referees, but there isn't somebody of my experience and knowledge, and that's probably caused a lot of problems where, if, for example, I criticise the decision in the Daily Mail, which I'm employed to do, and I'm also an advisor and a consultant for Nottingham Forest, so I've got to advise them as well. I've got to say, and I've got a duty of care to the Daily Mail to give my honest opinion. And I give my honest opinion that if I believe the decision's wrong, I'll say it because I was an ex-referee.
If you want to watch my full video with Premier League referee Mark Clattenburg, you don't want to miss this one, you can watch it right here.